What is up? Welcome to the Scoop World Order. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. What a fantastic show by Brandon Moses and Funky Buck. Thank you, Justin Spiro, for coming on and talking about the Connor Stallion situation. If you guys did not watch that, you got to catch it. They did fantastic. I appreciate both those guys grinding hard on a Sunday. It's what we do. We work every day, and we appreciate you guys that tune in and love the show. As always, we're going to go through some of the scrimmage stuff. We went through it a little bit last night. We got some more notes today, kind of reset the two deep, who's where, who's made a move this camp. Camp's almost over, which is amazing, which means we're getting real close to the season, folks. We're going to update a couple injuries and talk anything you guys want to talk about. So, as always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all that you guys do for this channel. Buckeye Scoop is far and away the #1 Ohio State podcast. It's all because of you guys, so thank you for that. Again, we don't take that for granted. We really appreciate all of the support. If you guys leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little alert bell. Those are huge for us. If you do something fantastic, subscribe to our Apple Podcasts. The audio medium is something we've been focusing on this quarter to grow. Even if you just like to watch the YouTube, just subscribe to it. It really helps us. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Anywhere you listen to the audio version, that helps us. So subscribe to as many platforms as you can. That is just a huge help to grow this channel. In terms of Pay It Forward, we have some new Pay It Forward members that are joining our site. We have emails in the inbox. We will get to those this evening or early tomorrow. Apologize for the delay on that, but thank you guys for sending in your military IDs. We will get those turned on for you, and we will let you know when that happens. So thank you for supporting Pay It Forward. Again, Pay It Forward is a program for all of our military personnel. We have a lot of retired people, a lot of people that are deployed to take advantage of it, firefighters, first responders, paramedics. Thank you for all that you guys do. Again, we got a few more members that are joining as of today, so we'll get to those emails. So sorry, Sunday we a little busy around the Barton household. We've got Kim is due any hour now. A lot of pressure, so we're ready. I'm ready for the call, and I told her I was like, just keep that water from breaking for at least an hour, so we can get a show in tonight. So I'm just kidding, but she's been walking laps and she's feeling great and healthy, and I told her that it's not an excuse to not moderate. I'm teasing you, but she's feeling good. Thank you guys for all the kind texts and checking in to see how she's doing. So little baby Cam Barton will be here very shortly, and we're excited about it because he's going to be a little beast, I'm sure, and I'm excited to get rolling with my good friend at Nevada. Nevada, you had an amazing day yesterday, so duty called for you, so I was able to hold it down, but it's not the same without you on the show. Welcome back, and also, the scrimmage was a success. Nice physical day in the horseshoe. A lot of young guys got work. I mean, at this point, when you have a really veteran team, you don't really need to crack the ones too hard. Those guys were thud, but the 2s and 3s were live. They were tackling guys, which is good. Again, I think that if you haven't earned the right to not get hit, then you should get hit on the football field. You don't need to tackle Trey Henderson, guys like that. Quinshawn didn't go. But the young guys, they can get hit a little bit, and there was some good hitting going on out in the shoe, getting those guys calloused for the season. Who are some guys that stood out to you, Nevada, and what are your thoughts on the team this far through training camp?
Yeah, well, it's been a camp of surprise. I shouldn't say surprise. Just it's been a camp of guys stepping up at Ohio State, and we know how talented the guys are. And it's fun for me to look at the backups and see who are the guy, who are the next big ones, and who are the guys that we're not talking about every single podcast or every single time, or every time that I've gone through my mental Rolodex about who's going to contribute. And you know, for me, looking at guys like, Kojo Antwi that are stepping up and actually, doing stuff, I mean, that's exciting because that, receiver room's banged with Carnell Tate, with Emeka, with JJ, with Brandon Innes. And so to have a guy like Kojo or Mylan Graham or Bryson Rogers, you know, that's exciting. And I love watching the young guys. There's a lot of people, when the game gets out of hand, they turn the game off, or they lose interest, or they're like, and for me, I love watching the second team get in, or the third team, or the fourth team in terms of getting it. And we got some really good young guys on this team. I tell you, we had some really good young offensive linemen. I know people are worried about the depth going forward, but Zen Mikulski, Austin Sarvell, Josh Padilla, Luke Montgomery, Carson Hinsman. I know he's a common name, but he's going to be a guy that's going to be around for a while. George Fitzpatrick. Those are all quality offensive linemen that go beyond the starters, and that just speaks to the depth. When when you talk to people that are at the practices, they just can't get over the depth that we have. Offensively, defensively, the Caden Currys, the Hero Canoes, the Caden McDonalds, the Kenyatta Jacksons. Um, so much depth on this team that yeah, it's really amazing because it feels like an NFL team. Not that Ohio State is an NFL team or could play with any NFL team or whatever, but we've got NFL type depth and we've got guys that are dudes up and down the roster. Heaven forbid we have an injury. This isn't one of those seasons where like I remember when we had the season with Justin Fields. It's like if Justin Fields went down, it was Chug's time, and that would have been really really bad for Ohio State. This year, we've got depth all over the place. We can hit it with anybody. Heaven forbid we can sustain major injuries at key positions and still keep it going. But that really speaks to how well we've done recruiting, how well we've done developing, and how good the depth is in this Ohio State team. And that's one of the big things that excites me.
I think that there's always adversity that strikes in training camp, and there's adversity that strikes in the season. And you guys have seen the big spectacular deals where guys like JT Barrett get hurt, Cardell's going to step in, or Braxton Miller's arm falls out of the socket, and then all of a sudden it's like that kind of happened to obviously a much lesser extent. We didn't lose anybody for the season, but with the hand, foot, and mouth virus that has kind of worked its way through the O line and D line room, it has had a lot of guys out. Plus, there's also there's always some injuries. Like there's some guys that get dinged up. Like right now, Donnie Jackson is dinged. Quinshawn is dinged, which is natural. It happens in football. But again, I think if there's a game, Quinshawn would be playing. A scrimmage, anything else, I think you hold him. Donnie, not sure. I think Donnie is somewhat questionable right now. He'll be back, but I don't know how quickly. I think that but that gives guys like Austin Sowerville the opportunity to run with the ones. Play some left guard. Run a bunch of different guys. So they're Carson, Luke, Tigra. Tigra. Sometimes like you're just the guy that gets lucky and you don't get afflicted with something like hand, foot, and mouth, which is kind of like chicken pox. Super contagious. It's not debilitating. It's just annoying because you can't. I've WebMD'd it and looked it up, and you get little spots that look like little bumps, and you get sores, and you can't swallow because you get them in your mouth and stuff. It sucks, but so guys lose weight because they can't eat, and guys, they're basically quarantined away from everybody. So again, when you're Justin Fry and Tim Drevno and Mike Salini, and you're making the O-line rotations every day, like at no point do you ever say, I want to put Austin Seyerveld in with the first team instead of Donnie Jackson. But if Donnie gets dinged, which he's dinged right now, then all of a sudden you got to put Austin in there. You have no choice. And again, like with Tigra, hey, do we want to rotate Tigra at tackle? Do we want him to play? He's been all guard this camp, but it's like, do we want to move him around or because like in the spring they're moving him at right tackle, right guard, like eventually. When the depth is depleted, you have to just put guys in spots and let him run with it. And he's done a nice job. Now, is there room for improvement? Of course, there's always room for improvement, especially for guys that never started a game. But they like what they've seen. And then you've got Carson, who unfortunately missed time, so he's a little bit behind the eight ball. But that's what I talked about. But again, you have to remember, and I say this every year, just because guys are starting versus Akron doesn't mean they're going to start versus Oregon. Guys could go out against Akron, and frankly, that's a game where, to me, you're never settled in as a starter at Ohio State as long as you're there. And I mean, unless you're Marvin or you're so far ahead of everybody that they have no choice. But in general, you got to earn your spot every week. You can't go out there and lay an egg. And if there's a secondary guy who's practicing well, they might give him a look. And a lot of these guys that start, they'll probably play about the same amount as the backups. Because I would imagine, unless we just completely spit the bit, like we're going to be pulling these starters in the third quarter. So we're going to get a look at a lot of these twos, a lot of these guys that have missed camp. And again, I hated training camp with training camp's the most miserable time of the year for football players. It's awful, especially when you're in the hotel and you're at the building for 12 hours a day. Like I used to be like, I can't wait for school to start because once school starts, they can't keep you in the building all day. They can't keep you at the Woody Hayes from 7 a.m. until 9:30 at night like we used to do. I mean, it was terrible. But I think that these guys, there's going to be some churning of the starting rotation. And it's going to be really interesting. One of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing is who's going to be the next quarterback in after they pull Will Howard. Is it Devin Brown, which is, seems like the favorite, but I talked to some people that are convinced that Julian's going to be the two. And it's going to happen pretty quick. Because again, I think that you got to get Julian ready to go. You can't mess around with him playing scout team. He has to be over with the first huddle during the season, and I think that you just got to ramp his development up as fast as possible because do you feel like he's the guy to really push the team to where it needs to go? Because again, like we've had, recent memory serves right where we've had quarterbacks get hurt and we've had to start guys, and I think that if Will Howard breaks a shoelace, who runs on the field? And because Julian he's cerebral enough to do it, and he's performing at a really high level. I mean, you don't have to be some juggernaut freak of nature quarterback to run this offense. You just got to throw it to the best players in the country and hand it to the best players in the country and let those guys go do the work. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Again, I think that the scrimmage was good. The captains, I think it was an appropriate number. Cody Simon being blocked. We've been high on Cody Simon since 2021, literally. So he's finally healthy and starting, and I think he's going to be an All-American this year. What are your thoughts on some of the two deep stuff and we can start going through the roster a little bit?
Well, let's talk about the captains. I love the captain choices. I think it was extremely hard this year. I think you could have really made a legitimate case for at least 8 guys, at least, certainly 6. They had to choose four completely worthy guys. I think for Ohio State, some teams lack leadership, and you know it yourself. Like when you were playing your senior year, I'm not saying you guys lack leadership, but you guys you didn't have 10 guys on there that were obvious captains on that 07 team. You had a handful, but you didn't have 10. This team's got so many guys, and so for Jack Sawyer or for Emeka or for Trey or for Cody to be recognized, man, those guys are really like the best of the best, and I think that's the kind of stuff that's really going to be carried. This is a team that is not going to lack for leadership. It's not going to lack for stability. It's going to be able to handle adversity, and a lot of that's going to have to do with having these guys back. And just about every single one of these guys, when we talk about Trey and Emeka and Jack Sawyer and goes on. These are all part of that big NIL push that Ohio State did to get these guys back, because every single one of them in years gone by would have been gone to the NFL. And so you look at the team to kind of go, how would our team be if we didn't have Jack Sawyer and JT Timolo and Emeka and Trey? I mean, I'm not saying it'd be stark or bad times, but it wouldn't be this dream team that we're experiencing. So I think they got the captains exactly right, which is great. And I think for the two deeps, like you said, that the Julian Sayin thing is so fascinating because I really have mixed feelings because I don't know if Julian Sayin's ready to help us win a game right now. But having said that, I truly believe he's the future. And, if and when Will Howard gets banged up, do you go to him and you just go all in terms of trying to get him ready as quickly as you possibly can? I think that's the play, because I'm just not sure if Devin's done enough to really hold off the wonderkind. And so I think they're going to play it as kind of a and/or type of situation, or having Devin slotted there at the 2. But I think you're exactly right. I think Julian Sayin is the future. He's the guy they want to win. I think that helps them, next year and beyond, to have him be the guy. And like you said, he's cerebral. He can make all the throws, and that is going to be very interesting to see how they handle that through games, 1 through 5. Yeah, who's getting those majority of those 2 and 3 reps? And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it's Julian Sayin.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I mean, I don't think they have a choice. I mean, as much as you gotta worry about feelings and heartache and stuff. This is big time college football. Like it's you know hearts are made to be broken in the sport. So I know that everybody wants to keep everything status quo. And again, if Devin's the backup, that's fine. But I don't think Julian can go play scout team. I think you got to send Aaron Lincoln over there, and they're going to be the scout team quarterbacks. Because you guys have to envision, like during a game week practice, there's 2 split fields. So there's the defense is on one field, the offense is on another field, and they're going against scout teams. So when you play scout team, like I played scout team, Troy Smith played scout team, Santonio Holmes played scout team, Gonzo played scout team. Like that's what guys do when they redshirt. They go down and play scout team, which is you run like Akron's plays or Marshall's plays or Oregon's plays. You look off a card and learn stuff. And that's great because, again, you get a lot of really intense work because you're going against Jack Sawyer and you're going against, JT. If you're a young offensive tackle, like there's nothing in the world that's better than seeing Jack and JT, because you're not going to see those guys in a scrimmage because those guys go against the first team. So when you're like the Armstrong twins, like they'll be down on scout team this year, and they're going to go see Jack and JT and Tyleek, and and again that'll be a baptism by fire, to say the least, because it happens to every offensive lineman that goes through there. You got to go see. I had to go see Will Smith, first team All-American, guy that massacred the Miami Hurricanes starting offensive tackles in the national championship game. So then little old Kirk has to go out there, and I got to go block that guy. And I'm like, well, I'm going to figure out if I'm good enough to play real quick because I got to go against him every day. And I did, and it was ugly. Again, I'm not some super Nova like a lot of, like I'm not Orlando. And again, when you're a freshman offensive lineman, they all get killed their first year in practice. And then eventually they get a little better and better. And some might be a little further ahead of the curve. But, even like Paris Johnson didn't start as a freshman. He didn't even play as a freshman. He was a backup. So, again, that's nothing against Paris, but it's really hard to do. That's like when people that are, they're crying in their dinner tonight about David Sanders Jr. I was like, he's not going to help us next year anyways. He might help Tennessee because they're not as good as us. But, again, if you got to rely on a true freshman, then you haven't done a good job developing the guys that you have. So I think that it's going to be fascinating. I think the running back room, it's not fascinating, but I think that the development of James Peoples is something that's going to have to be really, really focused on. He's not great at pass protection yet. Because again, when you're a superstar running back in high school, you don't really need to pass protect much because they're handing you the ball or you're running a route, or you're drinking a thing of Gatorade. Like that's it. Like, they don't, if you're a 5-star running back, you're not back there to pass block. You're back there to go out on a route and have them throw you the ball. But it was really interesting that they had they've been using Patrick Gerd a little bit at running back. Just because, if it gets to it and you need a guy that can pass block, that's a guy. He's a big, sturdy dude. Again, I don't like saying the Mitch Rossi role because Mitch, I think, was one of the most underrated Buckeyes that we've ever had. But that's what it is. Again, you have to remember the last play of the game when we played the Georgia Bulldogs for all the marbles, best game of the entire season that we ended up losing. The last offensive play of the game before the ill-fated field goal, we had Mitch Rossi at running back standing next to CJ Stroud to pass block. So it's not some small thing. And it's a way where, if we start off with an empty set where you've got 5 receivers and one of them is Patrick, like there's ways that you can kind of motion him into the formation if a team's going to overload blitz or cover zero, which is literally an all-out 6-man blitz. You could bring him in to help. So that's something it's nice to have the versatility of a kid like that. And he's the guy that like nobody's talked about, but I know that his old man was a great player, great person. But I think that he's going to do some really impressive stuff in the backfield from a pass blocking thing. I think that the fullback thing will come. Ryan likes to do some of the stuff that we don't see anymore. Frankly, it's funny to say that nobody runs the I formation anymore, but it's true. So you do some of that stuff and all of a sudden people on modern defense, like kids that are on modern defensive schemes, they can't defend it because they've never seen it before. They don't know how to defend the old school offenses from 20 years ago. So But I think that the running back room is going to be interesting. I think that Sam Williams-Dixon is going to have to play this year. I don't know if he's going to get past 4, but I'd put him out there versus Akron and just see what you got. And just say, hey, let's see if this guy's got some juice to it. Because we've used 3 and 4 running backs the last few years because this is injuries have been part of the game. It's a physical sport, and the season's never been longer. So I think you need 4 running backs, and we've only got 4 on scholarship that are of note. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that room shakes out. But I think with Trey and Quinshawn at the top, it's the best we've ever had from the top end. But that third guy, James Peoples is going to have a critical role this year. I know people think I'm crazy, but you see in these Michigan games where we're starting chip train them, and we're down to the nitty gritty. So your thoughts on that? Because I think that Trey and Quinshawn are going to be phenomenal. But I don't know how much you can use them both at the same time, just because I think that you gotta kind of keep those guys as healthy as you can, because the season is exceptionally long now. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if Caleb Downs gets any run there at running back. I mean, I know that was like a big to do for one day when Ryan made that comment, and then the Ohio State fan base reacted with their usual calmness, and started marching on the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and how dare you put a guy back there that could get hit, and I'm like, he's a football player, man. He's a football player, and if we need Caleb Downs at running back, let's put Caleb Downs at running back. And if Caleb Downs asks to play running back, the answer is yes. Caleb, you want to try it at running back? Yeah, absolutely. You can try it at running back. But I agree with you. I mean, we've gone 4 and 5 deep on the running backs in years gone by, and you can only play Patrick Gurd at running back so many times. You need to have guys go out there that can actually get it. So, if you're past Trey and Quinshawn and James Peoples, who I think is just a future star, and Sam Williams-Dixon, who's very capable, would it hurt my feelings if they had Caleb Downs back? It really wouldn't. He was a great running back in high school. So, I mean, emphasis on great. I think he was top 10 in the country, 26 touchdowns rushing or some ridiculous number like that. So he could do it. And if we need it in a 17-game season, that wouldn't bother. But what are your, I don't think we haven't talked about that in a while. Do you think that's like the dumbest idea ever, or are you okay with that?
Caleb?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's dumb at all. I think it's smart. You have to remember, there was a time, believe it or not, folks, that guys played both ways. Like, that's how football was played. Like, Chuck Bednarik played the entire NFL season both ways, as a center and as a linebacker. I know that was a long time ago, but it can be done. I mean, Chris Gamble had maybe the greatest season in school history when he was a DB that shut down Andre Johnson, and then he also played receiver for 120 plays a game or whatever. So, I think it's good marketing. I think that we have been terrible at marketing our guys for awards. So if you want to put Caleb out there for a couple gizmo plays and have him do a reverse or do a jet sweep or whatever, like, I'm not running him between the tackles. I think that's asinine and stupid when he's your best player on defense. But you'll do a jet sweep and give him a couple touches, and they did it with Dion. They did it with Charles Woodson. If he gets a cheap touchdown rushing the ball, do it. I mean, because again, I think if he wants to win the Thorpe, it doesn't hurt to have. Well, he also does this, and he returns punts and all this other stuff. I don't think you need it, but you don't need it until you need it. So I wouldn't mind it. The guy that I think could really do it, though, is Innis. I think Brandon could be a really good, not a tailback. Like, he's not a guy that's going to run between the tackles, but he's a guy that you can motion into the backfield and hand the ball to, especially on a horizontal run. Like, Brandon could do it. Mecca would probably be the best in the country at it if he did it. And again, when I say running back, I mean he lines up next to the quarterback and he does something going side to side, not something where he's vertical inside zone. Let Quinshawn do that. Let Trey do that, especially Quinshawn. But I think that would be the role I'd want for him. Again, when Charles Woodson was playing receiver and stuff, they didn't have him, run something where he'd get killed going over the middle. He's running deep routes and whatever. Because you gotta be smart. Because I think that the safety depth is something that they're not concerned about, but it's, when you're loaded everywhere and you have to be worried about something, I guess that the safety depth would be something that would be questionable because we have the deepest corners we've ever had, probably the deepest defensive line room we've ever had, a really, really deep linebacker group. So if you had to pick someone on defense, so like, I don't know if it makes sense to put the best defensive player in the country on offense, but again, if it's for marketing purposes, because again, I always look at things through multiple lenses. I look at it for Caleb because I think it would make him happy because he's a war daddy. There's not many kids that want to play every snap, but Caleb was one. He wants to play every snap. His dad obviously was a supremely talented NFL running back, played double-digit years in the NFL. But I think it looks good in recruiting because again, I am Mr. Recruiting. I love recruiting. I love looking at new angles. I love looking at something that could be enticing to kids. I love, I mean, if they say, Kirk, you get to call the first drive, the Akron game, there's no way that we're not going to score a touchdown with Jeremiah Smith. True freshman, first drive, touchdown, and that's my recruiting flyer that I'm sending to I'm emailing it. I'm sending a direct message in every Instagram box to all these offensive players. Hey, if you're good enough, you can play here as a true freshman. If you're good enough. Not everyone's J.J. Smith. Obviously, nobody's J.J. Smith. But that would be, I was looking at, like, what would be the most bang for the buck, most get that inertia flowing a little bit, get JJ in front of the microphone and say, man, I came here from South Florida and I had to move away from my folks and I miss them, but this is a business decision for 3 years. It's going to be, in 3 years, this will be the best thing I've ever done in my life because I'm going to be, at wherever the draft is, if it's back in Vegas or LA or whatever, walking with Roger Goodell saying, hey, that 3 years went by in a blink and I got developed and I had the best career in Ohio State history for a wide receiver. And wow, that really didn't seem like much, but I don't know. I like doing stuff that makes my great players happy. I'm a lot like Urban. Urban loved, if it was something that, put Johnny Simon at tight end or something, like, okay, let's do it. Like, let's try it, see if it works and whatever. Like, it's the same thing with like Vrabel at tight end or, we did that with some of our guys. Or you put one of your big fat D tackles at fullback on a goal line play. I mean, we love trying that kind of stuff, because it just puts a little bit of a spotlight on. It's like when they put Orlando Pace on the goal line defense in '96. Like, they put him as the nose guard because you don't really have to be some brain surgeon to say, hey, your job is to blow the center up. You line up right over the center and you charge through him and try to kill him. Like, that's not hard. So I think it adds to the mystique when a guy can go both ways and do a little bit of that. It's a little bit, it touches on the heartstrings of the throwback guys. But again, like, I was in high school. I mean, most high school players play both ways and they don't fall over and die and they don't like magically get hurt. Like, the way I look at it is like, if you're going to get hurt on the football field, that's God's will, so you can't prevent it. You can't play scared. You can't be, oh God, I better not finish this guy, or oh God, there might be a pile, or oh God, this practice might be it. Like, you just can't think of it like that. It's God's will. If you get hurt, it is what it is, But I would try it. So that's my answer. Does that change any of your thoughts, Nevada?
No, I mean, I totally agree. And I think, especially with marketing these players is so important. And, we still remember Charles Woodson's, Heisman moments and all that stuff
Exactly.
from 30 years ago or whatever the heck it was. And, this is all a big game, recruiting and promoting your players and winning awards and doing all these things and giving them a moment like that, give them some cheap heat and this high
Mm-hmm.
powered offense. I think it's not only good football, good marketing, but I think it's smart, and I think it'd be a great promotion for Ohio State football.
Yeah, and I think there are some kids that like to play both ways. There are some kids that want to do, they want to have that. Because again, when you look at like Charles Woodson's highlight reel, like he had the amazing one-handed interception, but he also shows him catching the ball, a reverse, punt returns. So it's it's a lot easier to assimilate highlights when you have the ball in your hands. And a way to manufacture that outside of just getting interceptions when, if you're a really good corner, you're not going to get many because they're not going to throw it at you. They're going to throw it at the other corner in the nickel. But when you're on offense, they can give you the ball, and you're automatically going to have these some of these highlights. So, Nevada, the O line is going to be really interesting. We'll go into that, and then we'll dig into some super chats. But I think that the scrimmage, they got a lot of guys back. Josh Simmons is back. George Fitzpatrick, Carson Hinsman. They're all getting back into the mix. It's been challenging because you in a perfect world in football, it's literally never perfect just because you're always dealing with injuries or guys that can practice or guys that need to be held out, whatever. But it's forced to create some depth. And Austin Seyerveld's looked great in camp, which I'm really excited about. Again, an Ohio lineman, your favorite, and he's the guy that is he's buzzing right now. He had to play some left tackle, but he's a big, strong oak of a left guard, so that looks good for the future. Luke Montgomery's plays center. I still don't know where he fits best, honestly, because I don't think he's. If he was taller, he'd be almost a perfect tackle with his athleticism, but he's not. So he's learning to play inside, which isn't always easy when you're a guy who's always been on the perimeter. Like I liked playing guard, but I greatly preferred tackle. Like when I was in the NFL, I was forced to play guard. Like I had to manage it and do it. But I always preferred tackle. Like tackle, I just felt so much more comfortable. It would kind of like be putting like Jack Sawyer at defensive tackle or nose guard. Like it would be, he could do it, but it's going to feel very weird. And he might not like it as much as the space that he gets out on that edge. But I think that there's been some good development from a lot of these guys who've been forced to kind of step in. Again, we mentioned I think the Tigre Carson thing's going to go into the season. Again, the way the schedule's set up with the first two games being layups, and then you've got that bye week. I think it really makes it nice to be able to evaluate and kind of reset the depth chart, restack kind of the board, so to speak, once you get into that bye week. Because you're going to have a lot of film on these kids, and I think that you can stay physical in practice when you're not playing anybody good for the first couple weeks. What are your thoughts? Because again, the O-line, of course, it is like whipping boy season for Justin Fry. But again, I don't know a single offensive line coach who's ever been liked in the history of Ohio State football. So welcome to the frat party, Justin, because just kind of comes with the territory. But what are your thoughts on the O-line? And if you want to touch on the recruiting stuff since you weren't here yesterday, it's up to you. I know you don't care. I don't care. But I know people say, "Oh, you're just soft." It's like, no, I don't care. I just genuinely, we figure out a way to be really good every single year, even if we don't get every 5-star in the world. Because again, we've got a great NIL budget, we've got a great history. Are we ever going to pull a kid from the South up here? Not often. We did with Stud, but other than Stud, like it's been like a total anomaly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think offensive line is an easy position to worry about. It's an easy position to look bad early in a camp or early in a season when you don't have cohesion. And then when you throw on top of that a communicable disease kind of spreading through, I think people do nervous. You do get nervous. And the David Sanders thing, I just couldn't care about. I'm excited for every commitment, but when kids don't want to come here, man, I'm like, it's fine. I'm not going to badmouth them. I don't have anything bad to say about David Sanders, but it's fine. These things always have a way of working themselves out. They always work out for the best. I firmly am convinced this will work out for the best as well. I love our young guys, and I think this is a blessing in disguise that a lot of young guys have got a chance to take a lot of quality reps, a lot of players. Now there's a price for we're gonna pay for that, which is maybe the offensive line is not quite as cohesive the early part of the schedule. Good news is we've got the perfect schedule for it because we don't need them to be. So I think this, short-term pain for long-term gain, and the dream off season continues. It's been an unbelievable off season in terms of stuff, and I think that the way things are going this fall camp is just another continuation of kind of the hot streak that Ryan Day's been on that started the night after the Cotton Bowl. So no, I'm excited about the depth. And I really, really, really like a lot of the young guys that we have out there. I think they're going to be really good players.
I think it's going to be long term for a long season. It'll be the best thing that happened to the O line. Again, I don't, if Donnie misses, another week, I'm fine. If Josh Simmons, like, I mean, those guys got to get callous and they got to, the biggest thing I worry about is their conditioning, but those guys are in great shape. Those are guys that, they're not weight guys. They're not guys that get real heavy. So I think that they're going to be, they're going to be fine. And again, like we don't play anyone really until Iowa, so there's a lot of ramp up time for these guys. So when you've got a guy that started for 3 years, like you can treat him different than a guy that's never started before. So, like if it was Tigre, you probably got to get him back out there and see what he can do. Donnie, no. But again, Donnie's thing is it's not a pain tolerance thing. It's just a thing where he just can't practice right now because of the ailment. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what this line can do. I think with Chip, it's going to be impressive to see how much space they can create with the way that he likes to run the ball. I think it's going to be. I think all these guys are going to level jump because they've got another year of experience. Again, Josh Hire is a first-year starter last year. Uh, uh, Josh Simmons was first. I mean, really first year at Ohio State. He started at San Diego State, but it's a big level jump being a first-year starter at Ohio State. Carson, it's funny that we have a guy that started 12 games for us who is battling to keep the starting spot. Like, I don't know. I don't know when's the last time we had a guy start 12 games and then he's, not written in ink as a starter the next year. I can't remember that. On the O line, I can't. Maybe I'm wrong and you can happily correct me, but I I don't know when's the last time we had a guy start that many games and he wasn't like a lock to start the next year, but it's where we're at. So again, like I said, I'm all for the process and it's a long season. And when I talk to all types of people that are associated with these kids, I'm like, look, just remember, like just because you don't win it out of camp, I mean, you could be in one play. Like I'm sure there was Cardell Jones is probably surfing along in life, and all of a sudden, Braxton's arm falls out of the socket, and then JT's leg gets broke, and now you're the dude, you're that guy. So I mean, in football, literally in one play, it can all change. I mean, Seeger could sprain his ankle the first play of the Akron game, and all of a sudden Carson's in there. So I tell the people I talk to, like, just keep your head straight. Don't get all depressed. Don't be in a funk. Don't be woe is me. I'm not the starter, because things change fast in football. I'm telling you, and you have to stay ready. You can't go to that dark place because you're like, oh man, I'm not the starter and I got beat out and golly gee shucks. It's like, no, dude, like you better get ready and you better go. And in the meantime, if you don't win that job, you better go punish people on the field and don't be some soft batch cookie, out there. I mean, you better take it out on people because you can do that. That's the good thing about football is like you get out there, man. If you're not the starter, you can go take it out on the starters, and then we'll see what's really good. Nevada, anything else, and we'll go into some super chats.
No, I could not agree more. I think that for Ohio State, you know, you're one play away from needing to go in there, and when your number's called, it's your time. And if you don't answer the call, then it's all on you. So I think for these players, they got to stay ready, they got to stay sharp, and I think they've done a pretty good job of doing that through fall, and I'm sure that'll continue into the season.
Yep, totally agree. All right, here we go. Appreciate you guys. Again, I will get the pay it forwards that are in our mailbox done tonight or tomorrow. It's been a very hectic day around the Barton household, waiting for Kimbo to send up the bat signal that it's time to go get the baby delivered. Jeff Perry, thank you for being an ultra member and thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. The coaches, Day and Kelly, both mentioned this bug going around the locker room. Is it anything to be worried about when it comes to the O-line development? Well, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but yeah, it's this hand, foot, and mouth disease stuff. And it's something where, there are guys that have missed some very valuable practice time. And again, I was a guy that I hated practice, I hated training camp, but it's a necessary evil. It's like if you guys want to go run a marathon, you better train for it. Don't just show up and stretch and get jogging, try to hit 26 miles without doing a program to get ready for it. So, like, football is a game unlike any other because you have to practice to really, really sharpen your skills. Like there's nothing that I can think of that emulates going against Jack Sawyer every day, or JT or Ty Leak or one of those guys. Like there's nothing. This isn't like basketball where you can go shoot in your driveway or you go hitting the batting cages or go get in the golf simulator and really sharpen your skills. Like football is like a game where to get those real good physical hard reps that it takes for you to get better and get your timing right, you got to do it. And again, these guys, they don't do one-on-one pass rush like in the off season. They don't do it in that you can't practice plays in the off season, full contact, full gear. So when you miss that, it's hard. And again, I had various injuries in my career. I missed spring practice, I think 3 out of 4 years. I had shoulder surgery. I broke my ankle. I had all these ailments where, I had a knee scope the one year where, it was like the first day of camp and Jake Ballard threw Lawrence Wilson into my knee and it hurt like hell. And I remember that night I was laying in bed and I was flexing my knee and I was like, I got to get this fixed because this thing's killing me now. So I had to get scoped and I missed. So it's like when you miss spring ball, it takes a little bit longer to get your timing back, especially in pass protection as a pass blocker. So, those guys that are missing time now, it's not their fault. Again, these guys are dying to play. And again, there's nothing in being part of a football organization as a player that'll make you feel more worthless than when you can't practice and you gotta watch or they send you home because you've got this disease. Like, so again, these guys were like, they weren't even in the building; they were gone because they don't want anyone else to get it. So, you feel kind of worthless because like it's like the show goes on without you. Which Ohio State, I always tell people Ohio State is like a giant. I don't say it's like a giant battleship or a giant, a big aircraft carrier, but that's what it is, man. Like if that thing gets rolling, it doesn't matter if you jump off. You jump off, no one's gonna miss you. You leave, no one's gonna miss you. That thing just keeps on plowing forward. It doesn't matter if you're Marvin Harrison Jr., C.J. Stroud, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, whoever. The thing just keeps rolling, and that's kind of what the machine is. And I think some of these kids realize it when they're gone, and it's hard. And plus, there's nothing that is more angering than when you're neck and neck in a race and you lose it because of something you can't control. Because it's one thing to lose it if you don't play well enough. Like, I was, I lost a race in '04. I was cut in the National Football League. Like, I mean, if you don't perform well enough and you don't get the mark or you don't get the roster spot, whatever, that's fine. But, like my second year in the NFL, I like tore my hamstring and I got released because of with an injury settlement. And that sucked because I was having a great training camp. My line coach said, you're doing fantastic. And then, it was like poof, vanish. So that's disheartening. But, all you can do is rally, stay positive. And again, I think that a lot of these kids are their own worst enemies because they're hard on themselves. And there's like no time for that when you're in training camp, man. You can't get too down in the dumps because, when these kids have bad days or they miss practice or coach is mean to them, you can't make that into some sort of a compounding effect where it's like, compound interest or it just keeps growing and growing and growing. Because I've seen that. So, some of these kids got to get ready to roll. But yeah, it's hard for an O-lineman to develop when there's no practice. And there's just no way around that. Nevada, your thoughts. Jeff Perry, again, thank you for the 10. It says the coaches, Day and Kelly, both mentioned this bug going around the locker room. Is there anything to be worried about when it comes to the O-line's development? And the other thing I'll add is that it does affect potentially the offensive development when all of a sudden you don't have your all-American left tackle. Just been real. You got to put Austin Seyerveld out versus JT and Jack. Makes it a little hard to run the offense. So when people say that the defense is winning, I'm like, well, yeah, dude, take Caleb Downs and Jack Sawyer and JT off the field and let's see how we do against those, the other guys. Take Cody Simon and Sonny Salas off the field. So that's kind of what it is. So, but what are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I think it's a blip in the road. It's this it was one of those unfortunate things, but on the parade of horribles, I it's not that big of a deal, and certainly as early as this is in the season. I mean, the season doesn't really get real until October, and we're still in August. So if you're going to have something like this happen, have it happen now, get it over with, get through things, and yeah, the young guys, like I said, the Josh Padias, the Firewalls, and the Montgomerys, and the Fitzpatricks, and I mean, Tigra's really taking this because it's still neck and neck with him and Carson, but Carson's really been down with this, and Tigra's look great, and we've been waiting for this version of Tigra to come up. So whenever these things happen, man, it's always an opportunity for somebody. Somebody's sad, but somebody's looking at this as an opportunity, and somebody's grabbing the ring, and that competition just makes Ohio State better. So I really think there's a silver lining out of this whole thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Like I said, you have to force guys into playing some of these guys. David Dickerhoof, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Nevada, share with the group what you can regarding your big day yesterday. Oh, That's up to you, Nevada. Your thoughts on that?
Uh, Big day yesterday. I mean, it was a big day yesterday. Uh, yeah, just a big day. I shared some news about one of the Nevadabuck brood that had on a national team, had a big game, came up clutch, did great, and I guess it would be an example of, we talk about like grabbing your opportunity. When you have an opportunity, you either grab that ring and you really you do something special, or it kind of passes you by. Well, for her, it worked out, and she did something really special and beat Team Canada yesterday. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, so that's as cool as anything I can imagine. But congratulations, obviously a huge day. Um, Little Dominic Hasek baby, I love it. So yeah, it was cool, and there were some calls afterwards that took Nevada away from the podcast because normally I have to. Nevada is drug kicking and screaming away from the podcast. He hates missing, so he did not. He had something very important to be a part of. So I am very happy for you and proud of you guys. It's amazing. So, um, but yeah, again, just one of the best days ever. It was so cool. Corey, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Any early bold predictions by each of you on O and D? Ooh, I love doing this stuff. I think JJ 6+ scores. I think that I think that was an easy one in 17 games. God, Sawyer 10 sacks. I think that one's doable too. Nevada, I'll let you go first. Give me a bold prediction on offense and a bold prediction on defense.
I'm going to say bold prediction on offense. Quinshon and Trey both rush for 1,000 yards. So that's my bold prediction on offense, and bold prediction on defense. Yeah, I'll go with, yeah. Jack and JT both have double-digit sacks, and we have 3 first-team All-Americans on the defense.
I like that. That's good. I'll let me try to be different. Let me think of something that would be different. I mean, God, I can't imagine Emeka's not all Big Ten. I think Emeka's an All American this year, just because of the functionality. I know that like when Chip Kelly gets the right gadget player, and the stuff that Emeka's good at is stuff that Chip Kelly loves to feature in his offense. So I think Emeka is explosive. The hard part is coming to Ohio State when you've got Carnell and you've got JJ. You can win the Blitnikoff. Obviously, Marvin won it last year, but it's hard because you've got a lot of mouths to feed, man. And plus, I think our running game is going to be monstrous this year. So I think that we'll have, I would imagine, maybe we won't though, with 17 games. Like, will we have fewer attempts? Probably not. Because if you got to see Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, you're going to have to throw in that game. But yeah, I think Emeka is a kind of an undercurrent pick for the Blitnikoff, just because I think that he'll get not just targets through the air, but I think he'll get carries, in the horizontal run game that he likes to do. I think, God, I really think Josh Simmons could be an All-American this year. I mean, him and Donnie, we could literally have 2 All-Americans at the line with him and Donnie, in my opinion. So you can have an All-American left side, which that's really hard to do. We did that. We actually did that a few years ago with the famed 4-tackle line, which really wasn't 4 tackles, but whatever. With Thayer Munford and with Nick Petit Frere. They're both first-team All-Americans on the left side of the line. Both got trees, so that was really cool. Defensively, Cody Simon, first-team All-American. Cody is going to have a monstrous year, and I think he ends up being a mid-round pick, like a third-round pick in the draft, because he'll test like phenomenally well, 4.5-ish type speed. He's a guy that, he showed up early as a young guy and was just electric on tape. And then his shoulders got ripped out of the sockets, and he had all these terrible injuries. So he's a good block O recipient. A guy that's been through a lot of adversity. A guy that, when he's all systems go, man, he is ferocious. He's my kind of guy, tough as nails. Great leader. His parents, army parents raised him, so he doesn't play around. And I think that there aren't many guys that I'm going to root for harder than Cody, because I think that he's a guy that he'll raise Sonny up to a different level, teach Sonny how to be even more of a pro. Sonny's already a pro. Obviously, his old man was a fantastic player, and his old man does not play. His old man is a great, great dude. But Lorenzo Styles, I'm talking about. But having a guy in the house, because I always think like sometimes, when you're the dad, obviously you can always impact wisdom on your kids, but sometimes you're still dad, even if you're a longtime NFL player like Lorenzo Styles was. Sometimes I think to hear it from a player and have a guy to follow around like Cody Simon, after on the heels of Tommy and Steele, and having guys that are really pros around the Woody Hayes teach you how to watch film and how to work out, and how to take care of yourself. Like I think that's nothing but a huge help. And then Caleb obviously is going to be as good of a safety as we've had. I think Caleb Downs has one of the years like Will Allen had in 2003, like Malik Hooker, like where the ball's just magnetic and he gets his hand on a lot of deep throws. I mean, he's a guy that can track and go get it. And I think that he's gonna have a big year, because again, we're gonna be ahead in a lot of these games because our offense is gonna be so explosive. So there's gonna be a lot of opportunities for these DBs to get some turnovers. Again, havoc plays, sacks, fumbles, interceptions. I think those are gonna skyrocket under Jim Knowles. Like I like what Jim Knowles did last year, because he, it's not, you have to understand, like when we don't blitz every play and we don't do this exotic stuff all the time, that's not a bad thing. People say it's like a vanilla defense. I'm like, no, it's just like, no, we've got guys that can beat the crap out of you, beat the tar out of you at the point of attack. So we don't have to do all this exotic, stupid stuff that can get us in bad spots and put us in bad situations. Like when we have better players than you, we can just line up and just maul you. And then it's more sound. There's less breakdown. And you can just suffocate teams, which is what our defense did last year. Our defense was suffocating. It was like second in the nation in total defense. So, but I think they'll be even better this year. I mean, because when you had Caleb Downs, there's no way you're not going to be better. And I think that the athleticism, I love Tommy and Steele, but I think Cody and Sonny will match their production, if not exceed it. I think that they probably are going to exceed it, just because, I think that they're, I do not like to speak ill of Tommy Eichenberg especially, but I think Cody, is a better athlete. He is a better athlete. He's faster. And I think that he's hungry because, now he finally gets the chance as a first-year starter, essentially, to be a captain, Blocko. And he's the kind of guy that'll take being a captain very seriously. Same as Jack Sawyer. I mean, dude, being a captain is great until it's time to be a captain. It's kind of like running for president. Like, it's all great to get elected president, but then you have to actually go be the president. You have to go be that guy. And all the eyes are on you now, so you better be out there balling. And I think Cody's going to be fantastic. So yeah, I appreciate that, Corey. That's a great question. So thank you for that. Poohbeard 12, thank you for the Ultra membership. Thank you for the 10. Knowing what we do now regarding their cheating, how do you think a hypothetical Natty rematch against Scum would have played out in 2022 if we both had won our semifinal game? Note 10 days between games. I mean, God, man. I mean, it's like you look at how good our how good we played against Georgia. I mean, CJ decided to run finally, which was great. And I don't know who would have stopped us. I thought like if we would have went to the Natty, we would have smashed TCU and had the big ring. But life's about opportunities, and sometimes you're this close. And that's life. And you got to show up and play your best in the biggest moments, and sometimes things just don't break your way. Like, I mean, obviously when Marvin got knocked out of the game, that was cataclysmic to our offense because we had guys that couldn't get open. So we lose our Marmaduke ex-wide receiver, and all of a sudden the offense grinds to a halt after we were smashing those guys. So I think we'd have handled Michigan easily, in my opinion. I think we make adjustments. I think that, you can't count on breaking a bunch of 70-yard runs versus a team like us that, we're pretty dialed in on defense. And I would have liked the 10 days, the revenge thing. Because it's basically like if you win that game, it's like a giant deodorant stick for the previous Michigan game. Because like there's people always say, well, what if you got to play Michigan 2 times, 3 times? Like to me, it's like whoever wins the last one is the winner. Like somehow if we would lose to Michigan in the regular season, lose to them in the Big Ten title, but then we beat them in the playoffs, like that's the only one I care about. I mean, honestly, again, as much as that people, oh, Kirk is an idiot. More, it's like, dude, if can you imagine knocking Michigan out of the playoffs? How sweet that would be. Or heaven forbid, it's in the national championship game. Oh yeah, but we beat you 2 times the regular season. Yeah, but we got the big ring, so we don't care. You got to win the last one, in my opinion. Nevada, what are your thoughts? Hypothetical Natty rematch against Scum in 2022, the year that we lost to Georgia and they got smoked by TCU. How do you think that would have played out? Again, thank you, Pooh Beard, for being on here. You are fantastic, and you always have fantastic super chats, so thank you.
Well, is the assumption that we know about the cheating now? We have full disclosure on
Yes,
the cheating, or we
yes,
don't have this
yes,
full, or we have?
yes.
I mean,
We know
uh,
all about the cheating now.
I think if then we'd violate those guys. I don't think they were that good. I think that we were markedly better than them. I think we beat them by 3 scores, and sadly, we never got a chance to make that happen. They ended up getting beaten by TCU, and then TCU got beat by what 60 points or whatever it was by Georgia. But no, just I mean, if there ever was a game where you're like the cheating, I've heard it didn't make any difference. You got to stop them. It's only 3%. All that nonsense. The 2022 game more than any other game was stolen from us. I mean, it was. It just was. 2021. We can talk about them rushing the ball for 9.5 yards a carry, and 2023. The stuff was already on. The scandal was already gone, and stuff. But 2022, man, they literally went like a thief in the night and stole that game. And had we had a chance to do that one over, I think we beat them like 45-24 or something like that.
I think that's fair. I think that's like I said, you saw we played against Georgia, how much better we got during bowl prep. We got much better. We had the best quarterback in the country, that's like swinging Excalibur when you have CJ Stroud as your quarterback. Like when I go into the game and I had like Troy Smith, I was like, I'm not scared of any of these teams, because like when you got a guy who's that good, it makes your life way way easier and a lot more stress free. So again, great question, Pooh. Appreciate you, my man. Rohan Vangel, hope you're doing good tonight. Appreciate you, my friend. Uh, Thank you for the 5, my dude. Here we go. I don't care about Sanders. Plenty of talented Ohio boys for the O line. My problem is that Fry isn't as good at developing them. Chip and Ryan only hump so much. Nevada OH. OH.
I
Um,
I
Yeah, I mean
O.
this is a big year for Justin. This is a big camp for Justin, big season for Justin. Justin knows it. It's a tough cold world being the Ohio State line coach as a guy who was basically the assistant line coach for 3 years. So I've been inside the shelter when the pitchforks and the knives and the torches show up, and it's you got to close ranks and go. And again, if these excuse me, it'll be interesting to see if these kids how much they care about their line coach, because these guys have got to have a big year, because I think Justin's coaching for his job this year. And again, I know Justin. I really like Justin. I don't make the decision, and frankly, I don't care who comes, goes, whatever. But like the recruiting stuff has been, it's been about what we've had for the last 20 years in Ohio. Like, I mean, we've only gotten so many 5 or 6 5-star guys, and somehow we've been able to field a team and win Big Ten titles and win a couple national championships. So, I think you're at the mercy of what you've got going on in Ohio. And I think that Justin, and again, you've got Tim Drevno there too, and you got Mike Sayin. You got 3 line coaches now, basically. You got your head coach, the head line coach, then you've got your assistant line coach, and then you've got Mike Sayin, who's the GA, who's still there. Which he's been there for I think at least 3 years. So that's a long term GA. I don't know if he's like an analyst now or what it is. Normally, you only get 2 years as a GA before they rotate you out. You have to graduate. But development I think has been okay. But again, I think that it's been hurt by the fact that we don't. I have not been a huge fan of the scheme. There's some stuff that I wish that we did better. He's got the best strength coach in the country, in Mickey. So his guys always look big and in shape, and they can run really well. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, we're putting a lot of guys in the league. I think Thayer Munford's going to start for the Raiders, and Paris is going to start, and Dewan, could start for the Browns. I mean, there's Nick Petit Frere is going to start for the Titans. Like we've been putting a lot of guys in the league that have been playing, but that was under stud. So with Justin, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think that this scheme and running Will Howard will make the offensive line look dramatically better because I think our rushing totals have been sagging for the last few years because we went away from running the quarterback. So it's hurt us. And again, the other thing, like when you're evaluating an offensive line coach, is you always look at what's the rushing yards look like. Rushing yards and sacks are the two big statistics that you look at when you evaluate an offensive line coach. Because if you're giving up a lot of sacks and you're rushing for 3.2 yards a carry, you're probably going to get fired. But I think that, getting back to running the quarterback, which we ran the crap out of the quarterback during the scrimmage, from what I was told. So those guys are out there getting out on the edge and running Lincoln and Air and everybody. So that'll help. And then the third thing that'll help the rushing is Chip Kelly is on Brian Hartline about making these guys block, these receivers. Because again, for whatever reason, that fell off a cliff the last couple of years because, again, like those guys, really, really good receivers, but they're very selfish players. They did not want to get their hands dirty. They did not want to get they didn't want to, they didn't want to scratch their Louis Vuitton purses. So they wanted to, take it easy out there. And there were times where Trey'd be buck wild flying down and he'd get tracked down by a safety because our guys don't block anybody. We don't block the safeties. So, again, Trey has to block in pass protection. He has to go block Cody Simon, who's blitzing and trying to kill him. So the least the receivers could do is return the favor so that when we have a chance for an explosive run, it actually happens. Because again, you guys, this will be your homework for tomorrow. Next time you watch an NFL game, a preseason game, college football starting up this week, like when there's a long run, check out the perimeter blocking and see if the receivers get some stuff done. Because in general, they do. They have to. Because if you don't block the safeties, unless they're just now here's the thing: if they're just terrible, then that's one thing. If you're playing Akron and you got a couple fish back there at safety, then you get some fishies back there, then that's one thing. But like when you're playing real teams, you have to block those guys, to give your team a chance. Again, go watch the Evan Spencer block, probably the greatest perimeter block, the second best perimeter block of all time. Where he took out the linebacker, it sprung Ezekiel 85 yards. Evan was a throwback, tough-nosed kid. And in Urban Meyer, again, when Urban Meyer's your head coach and he grew up as a receivers coach who was psychotic about his receivers blocking, then magically they block because they're held to that standard. So I think Chip is getting back to that. I don't think Ryan, frankly, cared about it. So, they let Brian not really have his guys block. I mean, they kind of did like the NFL thing where they just take the play off and chill. But I think that now it's gonna turn up under Chip because Chip is not gonna put up with that stuff, man. Because Chip loves his big, huge, sexy rushing stats and 7 yards a carry, and and again, if you're gonna run the quarterback, a lot of times when you're on the quarterback, he's getting out on the perimeter. Like if you're on like read option, he's running out on the perimeter. So you need those slot receivers to go block somebody. You need those receivers to go get somebody because if you don't, that quarterback's gonna get smoked by a nickel or a safety or a pursuing linebacker, and that everybody's going to be really, really sad. So, Nevada, your thoughts? Rohan Vongold again, thanks for the 5 says, I don't care about Sanders. Plenty of talented Ohio boys for the O-line. My problem is that Fry isn't as good at developing them. Chip and Ryan only help so much. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my feeling about Ohio linemen. I love Ohio linemen. We've gone over it many, many times, but the 2014 team was 5 Ohio kids, 4 of the 5 extremely undervalued and underranked and underappreciated. So no, I would definitely. I love my Midwestern kids on the line. I think this is a big year for Fry. I think Fry got the biggest gift of all time having Chip Kelly out there. I think Chip's going to make Justin's job a lot better. But I mean, look, if we're being real, Justin has not delivered on all the promises that was made about him when we got him. Recruiting was going to pick up. The production of the offensive line was going to pick. I mean, all these things. They had. Pantone had done a really good job of painting Stud as this antichrist of this guy that was lazy, that was terrible, that was holding the team back. And now you look back at it and you go, man, those were the golden years. Those were the golden years of recruiting. Those were the golden years of offensive production. Those were the golden years of putting guys in the NFL. And this new guy has not lived up to those standards. That is inarguable. And so the people that were bagging on him at Pantone's bequest, making little snide comments about Stud and making funny little memes and doing all this stuff like that and trying to turn the fan base against him, now they look ridiculous because people look at it now and they kind of go, man, this Fry guy, I know he's Ryan's best man at his wedding. I know they're really close. I know those guys are bestest buddies, but he hasn't done the job. Now, can he do the job? Sure. Will they get better this year? Without a doubt. But I think it's time. I mean, I think it's time for him to do it. It's kind of put up or shut up, because Ryan has demonstrated that Ryan will protect his own job at all costs. So he will fire anybody and everybody if they underachieve. And I think this is a big year for Justin Fry to make it friend or no friend. His job's on the line.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's always these myths that are perpetuated by people that are trying to, stroke for info from there. And it's just like people say, well, he had nothing to do with recruiting anybody ever. And I'm like, well,
No,
that's
it's
not
such a
that's not what
joke.
that's not what the players said. It's not what Nick Petit-Frere told me. It's not what Paris told me. It's not what Paris's mom told me. I mean, it's actually the opposite. So again, people that say that are people that have never been in recruiting, around recruiting. They've been on the periphery of it. Maybe they've talked to somebody who's been recruited in their life or something. But to me, no kid goes somewhere that has no relationship with their position coach. Like Paris Johnson is not going to Ohio State if he's like, well, I don't even know who Greg Sudoir is, and he doesn't call me. And when in reality, like Monica, she's so great. She's like, no, actually, Stud broke down his tape every Sunday morning. Which again, Sunday morning when you work at Ohio State, like we're usually in the office at 9, maybe 10, to watch the film and grade the film. Like we always would, a lot of times we'd grade it the night before, but then we sit down as a staff and grade everything. So the whole offensive staff is in one room, the whole defensive staff is in another room, and for 4 hours or 3 hours, whatever it takes, you grade the entire tape. And the offensive coordinator has the remote, and he's rewinding it, and you're watching it, and usually like when I did it with Ed Warner, like I would grade the tackles, he would grade the guards and center. So we'd have our little grade sheets and we'd check. And then like, we'd always kind of talk back and forth. Hey, what do you want to do? Is this good enough? Is this not good enough? So you usually grade it on, do they get their guy and how's their technique? So you try to keep it simple. And is there a missed assignment? So we'd talk back and forth. Usually like I was pretty, cold. Like I knew exactly what it was. Cause a lot of times if a guy misses the man, it's obviously misses man. But we would sometimes debate technique. Is that good enough? Is it not? Whatever. But like I said, in the history of football, there has never been a kid who said, I just went there because I knew Greg Schiano. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like, and Nick Petit-Frere was literally at my house because we were filming a commercial for Jerry Cocan and 4-Star Freightliner for an NIL deal. And I was literally getting the video done for him to help out a friend. And I asked him that. I was like, did Greg Schiano have anything to do with you coming? He's like, well, yeah, like I knew him, but like I'm not coming somewhere because of a defensive coordinator. And Nick Petit-Frere is one of the smartest. He's one of the smartest kids I've ever met in my life. He's like, that was literally his response. Why would I go somewhere because of a defensive coordinator? I was like, well, that makes sense. So again, like when they perpetuate these falsehoods of stupidity, like they should just ask the kid, did you get steered because of Greg Schiano? So it's like, that'd be like me committing to Ohio State because of Mark D'Antonio. Like, he's great, and I love Dino. He was awesome. But, I mean, once you get there, you talk to him high in the hallway, and when he's running the defense and you're on scout team, you talk to him a little bit. But it's not, you don't have some sort of a deep relationship with him. But that's just being based in fact and not these alternate realities that people perpetuate that are, again, they're just so stupid. I mean, it's like saying that the moon's made of spare ribs or something like that. I was like, okay, great, sure, prove it. So yeah, I laugh. I mean, and the fact that Stud would break down the film of Paris's game from Friday night on Sunday morning. They would sit there and stud somehow. They'd have their film in the database by then, and he would sit there with Paris and like break the game down with him before the staff meeting. Like this, and this is what Monica told me, and I was like, that is like next level stuff because Ed Warner and I never did that. Jimbo and I never did that. So that was actually like really. I was like, wow, that's actually really cool. Now I don't want to do that for every kid. I do that for Paris, but I'm not. I do that for a 5-star. I'm not doing that for every kid in Ohio or every unless he's some world beater. But again, not every mom is Monica Johnson. Monica Johnson asked if Stud would do that and kind of show Paris what he would correct and give him some feedback on the games. And I was like, that's actually really smart. And like, I love my mom to death, but she wouldn't even know where to start. Like, my mom would just be like, space cadet. And I'm not being demeaning, but she just doesn't know football like Monica does. Monica came up in the game. You're not getting one over on Monica. So that's the other thing. Is I was like, okay, yeah, you guys snowed over Monica, and they had Stud in the green room when he got drafted. Like in the most awkward thing of all time, Stud and his wife were there with Ryan Day, who fired him, and Justin, the guy that took his job, and they're all there together for Paris. So this like, oh well, Urban Meyer's the guy that was the lead recruiter. I'm like, well, Urban wasn't there. I didn't see him. Maybe I missed him. Maybe he was getting another plate of nachos in the back, but I didn't see him at the draft. So yeah, Buckeye Scoop is where falsehoods and stupidity go to die, and it's always fun blowing a hole in that kind of stuff. Pooh Beard 12 again. Thanks for being an ultra member. Thank you for the 10. Bit of medical advice. I'd recommend talking to an OB about induction. Depending where Kim is at, induction at 39 to 40 weeks can reduce the need for C-section maternal complications with no real risk to baby. See, Pooh Beard is, God, I don't want to mess this up. Maybe a urologist, I think. I can't remember Pooh Beard. I apologize if I get that wrong. But that's great. Because I mean, I know that, she's going to get, like the 25th is the date, so it's coming quick. So she's walking around the pool and doing squats and doing everything she can to try to get this baby rolling. So, hey, whenever he shows up, he shows up. So I just told her, I was like, hold it until after the podcast so we can get through it so Nevada doesn't yell at me and get upset. So,
Kirk, I got two words for you. Okay?
I will beat you. Yard work. Go mow the lawn.
Exactly. Don't give her the power mower. Give her the push mower too. Like, come on, Kim.
Dude, yeah. I got three words. Tar the roof. Get her up there peeling shingles off. There you go. Like, oh, the baby's coming. Great. I'm on top of the roof now. This is great. Medical advice from Buckeye Scoop. Thank you, Pooh Beard. I appreciate you. The Pooh Beard he's a doctor. So I mean, I appreciate that. Again, Kim is always on here watching, so I'm sure she got that. All right, David, what is up, brother? David Penterick of the Penterick Classic fame, the fastest driver of all of the Scoop family by far. Hope you're good, my friend. Hope you and Janet are having a nice night. Will we see a T formation with a fullback and two tailbacks, even for one play? Call it a Woody Hayes special. I would imagine. I mean, we did it in the spring game, so Chip Kelly is very slick. He's very smart, and he's a guy that studies football as much as any human being in the world. So if he wants to ingratiate himself to the diehard old head Ohio State fans, then running the robust T Woody Hayes formation for a touchdown would be something, because that'll be on Sports Center and it'll be all over the Big Ten Network, and everyone, oh, Woody Hayes used to do that, back in 1971. That's the play they ran versus whoever. Like, so I think that would be great. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, again, because I think that those guys know how to play to the crowd. They're like professional wrestlers. They know how to get the crowd amped up, and scoring a touchdown like that, or even if you just do it as window dressing and then you throw it out to JJ. Like, I mean, that's honestly probably what I would do. I would run the robust T and all the tight ends, get it all condensed in there, and then I'd have one guy standing out there, and it would be JJ, and I'd throw him a fade, and I'd watch him LeBron James dunk on a corner and be like, oh, so you guys are all looking at this little robust T thing, and it didn't even do anything. But that's me. What do I know? Nevada, what are your thoughts? Again, thank you, David. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the 20. Will we see a T formation on with a fullback and two tailbacks, even for one play, called the Woody Hayes special? What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, they've been practicing that. They Chip loves that. And Chip is absolutely a football historian. For him, he loves going back to some of that stuff. And the reason some of that stuff worked is because it worked. And when teams aren't used to running up against it and defenses haven't seen it, it can be deadly effective. So I would bet that you will see that, and it'll definitely be more than one play. I'm definitely betting the over on that because Chip loves that, and they've been spending some time on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be fantastic. Lee, thank you for the 10. I hope you're doing great this Sunday night. Appreciate you, my friend. I feel with Will Howard, this offense could explode. Totally agree. Will Howard, Chip Kelly is going to be like, kabam. We're running the quarterback. Let's make the offense fun again. Am I one of the few excited to see what he can do? I think his mobility is going to really help the O-line and running backs. Nevada OH.
I owe
I mean, all right, Nevada. I don't know where you want to go with the Will Howard thing because again, I was told all offseason that he's not good. He's not going to start at Kansas State. He's not. It's a competitive race with him and Devin Brown, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not buying that. I know how much we paid Will Howard. It wasn't cheap, and we're not paying that kid to hold a clipboard and wear a baseball cap. We're paying that kid to come out here and win a national championship. So, I think his talent is scintillating. And I've said because people are like, oh, well, he's not accurate. I was like, Josh Allen wasn't accurate either when he was at Wyoming throwing to a bunch of farmers and guys working on an oil rig. It's like, what do you expect? Like, he's not going to be. If you give JJ and Emeka and Ryan Day's NFL passing offense, and then you put Chip Kelly's running attack with that melded all together, it's like, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, so like I said, there hasn't been an ounce of my body that was ever like, man, this is a real competition. Man, Devin has a chance. It's never been a competition. The second he came here, and again, we're the ones that broke the Will Howard stuff when Ryan was visiting with him in early December. He was down in Dallas, met with Will, and then all through the people are, oh, he's not coming. Oh, he's going to SC. I was like, no, he's not. It's done. I already know the deal. So now it's coming to fruition. But I mean, I'm with you, Nevada. You said it a couple weeks ago. I think he's going to be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. I really do. I think with this offense, and again, barring injury, barring any sort of setback or injury, he's going to be there because his numbers are going to be absolutely insane, in my opinion, just because of his raw talent. You know, he's a great leader, and the biggest thing is, dude, he's playing for his career. Like he wants to go play in the NFL, man. So it's like he's got to be completely on point. And again, that's why like the portal is great for a kid like this because Kansas State, like you can only do so much. But when you go to Ohio State and you're getting coached by Ryan Day, who's the best quarterback, I mean, him and Lincoln Riley are inarguably the two best quarterback developers in college football. And then you get Chip along with these NFL weapons all over the place. It's like Yahtzee. It's like this is like the best feeling in the world. So, what are your thoughts about it? Again, I appreciate you, Lee. Thank you for the 10. He says, I feel with Will Howard, this offense could explode. Am I one of the few that are excited to see what he could do? And along with Chip Kelly and running the quarterback again. Running the quarterback is going to make this offense look like it's going to be out of the mud like it's been the last few years. In the running game, I'm talking. I know we can throw the ball for a zillion yards, but I'm talking about running the football. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, just look at Bo Nix. I mean, Bo Nix, look at his stats at Auburn. That guy got run out of town out of there, um, and he was terrible. I mean, he was bad. I mean, bad, like bad. And then he went to Oregon and he became superhuman. So now Will's going to have a monster year. That was, for me, it's irrelevant what he was paid. That just shows how much Ohio State liked him, how much Ohio State wanted him. But he's just been so good since he's been here, and he's way faster than people think. Can really throw the ball. Can really cerebral. Really embracing the new technology with the helmet comms. 39 starts under his belt. I mean, there's just so much to like about this guy, and yeah, he's a real blessing to the offense and going to be a real key. So I'm not only saying going to be in New York. I'm calling it right now. He's going to win the Heisman. I think it's a great futures bet. Will Howard, yeah, I think get him at 15, 20 to 1 or something like that. I think that's a really tough to predict stuff like that. So many things can happen, but I think that's really good value on that bet.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got the train will get rolling, and the Heisman's always funny because it literally can change with like one loss, and because that costs those Michigan games. People say, oh, the cheating didn't matter. I'm like, well, if I'm CJ's got 2 Heisman's if he beats Michigan. Because they walk through Purdue or Iowa or Northwestern, whoever Michigan had to beat to win the title. So, I think that with the season and the way the schedule's set up, man, it is going to be it's going to be a big year for Hard. Really excited about them. Well, Nevada, we could probably wrap this thing up. This is a good. God, we almost went for almost 80 minutes. Nice long show, especially with Funky and B Moses doing outstanding work as well. Before this, any final thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, and I'm just so excited about the season. We're getting down to those 13 days, 12 days, or whatever it is to kick off. But yeah, I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. Just to have to enjoy every single play, enjoy every single down possession. This is a very, very special Ohio State team, and they're not always like this. And this is going to truly be a dream season. So enjoy every minute of it, and we'll have more for you tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you guys so very much. I will keep you guys in the loop about everything going on. Obviously, in the world of the Bartons, it's a crazy time right now because any minute we could be boogieing over to deliver our son. So we're excited about that. So I appreciate all the well wishes. And I appreciate you. Appreciate the Scoop family. Appreciate all that you guys do. It's a huge show because you guys make it one each and every night. Again, we're going every night. I mean, it's go time now. It's the season. This will be the best season in Ohio State history. We're very excited about it, and we will be taking you through all of it each and every night. So if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bar. Again, the show has been absolutely incredible, and we're very thankful to you guys that have been a part of it as we've been rising and rising and rising, and it's still getting bigger, which is what's scary, and just really excited about the direction of Buckeye Scoop, and thank you to the Scoop family. Again, if you guys are feeling especially fantastic, we are growing our audio side of the podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify. Even if you only watch it on YouTube, that still is a huge help for us. So thank you. Again, that is just something that is it's been growing quickly, and it's something that we're just very blessed about the way this podcast has taken off. So we appreciate you guys. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. And also shout out to my Southern Ohio boys. I saw a bunch of you guys over the weekend. So again, I always, I can't tell you how much it means when I see people and they tell me how much they enjoy the show and how they watch every night. So, if I met you outside of Best Buy, or if I met you at Costco, or if I met you wherever, I just say thank you because that means a lot to me. And again, we work hard at it. And we got another super chat right at the buzzer. So again, I love when you guys do this. This is funny as I am wrapping the show. Buckeye BA, I appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the deuce. We'll finish this thing off. Can the second O-line coach recruit legally? Yes, he can. He cannot go on the road unless he's designated, though. So, you could designate 10 coaches to go on the road. I don't know what the process is to switch the coaches. I don't know if it's paperwork or whatever, if it's a long process, a short process, if it's just like grabbing a hall pass in high school. I don't know what it is. But everyone in the entire building is allowed to recruit. They're allowed to direct message on Instagram. They're allowed to text message kids, Twitter message kids. So yeah, it's kind of all hands on deck when it comes to recruiting. And if you're in a certain room, if you're like the O-line GA or you're Tim Drevno or you're Justin Fry, like they can all be recruiting the kids, the 25s, the class of 2025 kids, the class of 26 kids. There's a no contact at a certain age. I think for 27s, I don't think that they can be contacted yet. Maybe it's September 1st is the day that opens up. I'm not sure. But after a certain point when kids are, quote, of age to be contacted, then it's all hands on deck. I used to spend a lot of time hitting kids up on Twitter, hitting kids up on Facebook. Instagram was kind of, it wasn't really that big in 12, but the other mediums were. And it's something where I think you can, if you're a young coach, like if you want to add impact to the program, be a dynamic, dominating recruiter. because a lot of the older guys are they're not really hip to the technology. They're not hip to the vernacular. They don't really like Twitter. They don't like Facebook. So that's why there's been a lot of young guys that have really surged up in the profession because they embrace it because they know the tech and it makes them very, very difficult to go against in the recruiting game. So that's just my thought. Again, that was a fantastic question. Make sure I don't have any other ones. And we're out the show. Well, I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you for all the kind words regarding myself and Kim. Again, we love you guys so much. We appreciate all that you guys do. I appreciate you guys being on here. So that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks. Whew.